What's up, everybody? Today we are taking a look at Hunters of Victorian London. This is a one-page micro setting for the Tricube Tales system. And so we're going to go ahead and play through this. We're going to use some supplemental materials like we've been using in our Tricube Tales videos. We have these map tiles from Folklore, the Affliction, as well as all of my different chits and tokens and standees from Folklore, the Affliction, which I have conveniently stored in this container. And so we'll be using these for things on the map and objects and characters and combat and tokens and stuff like that. And of course, I'm also using my handy dandy weird horror deck and my handy dandy second edition GameMaster's Apprentice decks, and these sort of drive the plot forward. And yeah, so let's go ahead and make some characters. Let me read the description here. So, Victorian London is the capital of the largest empire in history, in the heart of the international trade and finance. The conspicuous wealth and splendor of the affluent areas contrast starkly with the crime and poverty of the poorer neighborhoods. But not every danger in the overpopulated city is natural. Terrifying monsters stalk the gaslit streets, hunting their prey with ruthless tenacity. It is the late 19th century. The Victorian era introduced numerous social and political changes, not to mention scientific and technological advancements. But secretive monster hunters continue to work in the shadows as they have done for centuries, protecting the citizens from supernatural predators. You are a team of professional monster hunters, men and women of all walks of life, charged by Queen Victoria to track down otherworldly threats in London and discreetly eliminate them. All right, pretty sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and make up some characters here. All right, so our first character, I'm going to have be Crafty. And then we're going to pick a concept. We've got aristocrat, doctor, detective, scientist, thief, big game hunter, and spiritualist. I think a crafty detective. A little stereotypical, but it's a stereotype for a reason. Detective. A crafty detective. We get to pick a perk, so let's put our perk here. Quick, charming, well-equipped, mystical senses, supernatural ability, we got to describe it, occult knowledge, or a holy relic, and we've got to describe that. I'm going to say occult knowledge. All right, now a quirk. We're just going to make two characters today. Quirk is going to be vain, cautious, arrogant, ruthless, heroic, outsider, or dark curse. Let's do a dark curse, and we have to describe it. So a dark curse, and here underneath we can describe it. Let's get a sense for what this dark curse is. I'm going to use verb and noun. So we've got follow and dispute. Follow and dispute. Could be some sort of shadow self or dark entity that follows him, and only he can see it or hear it. And whenever he feels comfortable with a decision, this dark entity will come and whisper into his ear and tell him that it's not a good idea, and tell him about all the terrible things that can happen. So it's basically like a doubt and anxiety manifested, and actually clung to him and attached to him and following him, and anytime, like I said, he comes to a decision, it's going to be there to whisper doubt into his ear. So we'll call it the doubt demon. All right, very good. Now let's move on to name. Okay, I'm going to use my little name cards. Now let's use the Game Master's Apprentice, and we have Vipul, Clarice, and Bastet. Let's go with, let's make this a female detective. We'll go Clarice. I like that. And then another character we're going to make is going to be, let's do Agile. And we'll do an Agile aristocrat. Maybe like a dancer. And then a perk. Quick, charming, well-equipped, mystical senses and supernatural ability, occult knowledge, or holy relic. Supernatural ability. How about teleportation? Or like trans... How do I want to put it? I feel like there's a term for it where you can like pop yourself into existence somewhere else and then you pop back instantly so you can affect things far away. We'll just go with teleportation, basically the same thing. And a quirk, we will do vain, cautious, arrogant, ruthless, heroic, an outsider, or a dark curse. Let's go with vain. A vain aristocrat. That sounds about right. Yeah? And a name for this vain aristocrat. Nice. Okay, we'll do 2 ladies. Lauretta. Lauretta. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. A frog in my throat. All right, let's go ahead and now all's left to do is roll up our monster hunt and our scenario. All right, so bring our dice in here. The hunters must deal with a reanimated corpse. Yes, I love it. Which leads them to a hospital or asylum. Yes. All right. And then, but they must also deal with a partner or hostage. A partner or a hostage. Okay. Okay. All right. I got it. All right. So here's what we'll do. Let's use this map tile as sort of the entrance to the hospital. Turn it this way. All right, like this. All right. Lauretta and Clarice have been sent to this hospital. Now we need some sort of hostage or partner. I'm going to draw one of these cards and determine the sort of character we're going to deal with. And I'm going to do that by looking at the belongings. So it says a portable assistant, a bound demon, a tablet device, or a spirit familiar. Well, that... Okay, well that makes sense, right? Let's see. On the one hand, the dark curse demon that follows around Clarice could function in this way. But I feel like I want something a little bit more tangible. So it could be a bound demon or a spirit familiar. Let's say that we have this artifact, which is required to defeat the undead, what was it? The reanimated corpses that are going to be attacking us, like whatever the big baddie of that foe is. We need to use this particular artifact to destroy it. However, this artifact imbues its possessor with very, very bad luck. Very bad luck. So we're going to have lots of penalties and lots of bad, weird things happening, we'll say. We'll say, how about this? We'll have each scene, so like each room that we go into, we're going to have 2 random events occur. And we'll sort of spin them up using our GameMaster's Apprentice decks. And that will be a constant setback for us. Like every time we're making progress, we're constantly being beset by the bad luck that this artifact brings. So that's that additional twist or thing we have to deal with. All right, so we come into the entrance to this hospital, and we're going to find, let's see, are we going to find some non-hostile creatures? So are there friendly characters in here? We'll give it even odds. Yes, question mark. Okay, so there's some people in here. We're not sure if they're quite friends. We can go ahead, let's see how many there are. We'll say let's roll roll a d4. How many possibly friendly people are there in here? 4, okay. So we'll have all these guys are in here, and we're not sure if they're friendly or not. So we're going to introduce ourselves, and we'll have Clarice do the talking, and we'll see if Clarice can sort of get a sense of the intent of these guys. A 5 or 6 will give her a sense. 5. Okay, so we got a 5. So now let's go ahead and see what some of the intentions are of these guys. We'll go ahead and draw a verb and a noun. So convince a child. Convince a child. Let's say convince a child. We learn through talking to these guys They're all adults, but they're all convinced that they're children. So they've got some strange madness is going on where they all are convinced that they're children. And maybe it is the case that they're possessed by the spirits of children who've died in this hospital. We're not sure yet, but we can tell that all of these people will think that they're children, which leads us to believe they're potentially not much of a threat. And so let's go ahead and see. Let's sort of add a plot element to this. I'm going to draw 3 cards. We've got a shield, a heart, and a wand. And let's see if we can divine what these cards are telling us. So we've got a shield, which means delay, block, or detour. A heart, which means betrayal or a change of mind. And the wand, which means someone needs help. Someone needs help. Betrayal. All right, so what it is that these guys are all going to come up and just be like, no, you need to, they are very insistent that they need help, that they need to be protected. And they're kind of like swarming our 2 heroes, Clarice and Lauretta, and clutching at them and begging them like, no, you need to help us, please, don't leave us alone, don't betray us, we need your help, we're just children. Just ask them, what do you need? Okay, what do you need? We're gonna roll 3 dice. This is gonna be Clarice. It's like they're all children, they're all grasping, they're all saying this stuff at the same time. It's very hard to tell what they will actually want. So we're gonna roll a 5 or a 6. Okay, we got a 5 and a 6, so we got a lot of success figuring out what they want. So let's go ahead and see what the cards tell us they want. We'll go with a verb and a noun. To confront a creature. Okay, I like that. All right, well, we say, okay, we are here to confront a creature. Clarice and Lauretta explain that that's what they're here to do. They ask if the children can point them in the direction of the creature. I'm going to say there's good odds that the children know which direction to go, because we've got 2 paths out here. And good odds, yes, question mark. So they're not sure, but they say, hey, we think it's down this way. And one of them goes this way, and the other 3 go this way. So I guess we're going to just let's try the path that the 3 pointed down and see what we find through there. Now, we've only done 1 bad luck in this room so far, and we're supposed to do 2. So let's say as we're going out here, we need another situation to happen. So let's use this card to see what our situation is going to be, and we'll go to situations: travel, snafu, winery, hide a shame. Let's see what else on this card might inspire us for a bad luck. If we take a look at the touch, it says soggy, crumbling ground. So maybe as we're heading this way to go down this path, the ground literally crumbles underneath us and we fall through into the basement level. And all the children are still up there. So we'll set them over here for now. And we crumble down into the morgue. So we both fall down to the ground, and we're going to roll to see if we get hurt. I think Lauretta gets to roll 3 dice. We need a 5 or a 6. Okay, Loretta's fine. And then Clarice needs to roll 2 dice for a 5 or a 6. And she's fine. Okay, so they both land and no one's hurt. But their bad luck has taken them down into the crypts. And let's get a sense for what's going on in here by doing some sensory information. We'll use the weird. What do we see? A defiled altar. Okay, so maybe this here in the middle is an altar. And what do we hear? Someone slurping greedily. Ooh. And what do we feel? Scalding breath on your neck. So warm breath. All right, okay, so we've got the sound of something slurping. We've got this defiled altar in the middle. So I don't know what the hospital was doing down here with all these bodies, but they have an altar here. And we feel breath on our neck. Do we see anything? Let's ask if we look around, do we see what might be breathing on us? I'm going to say the odds are even. Yes, question mark? Okay, so we see something. There's some sort of spectral thing. Some sort of, like, it just looks like a wisp of smoke. But it seems to follow them around, and they aren't sure what to make of it. So let's see if Clarice can come up with an answer to what this might be. 5 or a 6. So we got 5s. So she knows exactly what this is. And she's going to know that this is, let's take a look at this card for inspiration. Well, I always like to look at the belongings. So, communications, enemy's emergency beacon, dead phone, a bowl of blood. Okay, so communication. Communication. This makes me think that what we are encountering is not an enemy spirit, but it's something from beyond the grave that's trying to communicate. It's trying to communicate. Okay, so it's that type of ghost that's not moving things, that's not doesn't take a physical form, but is just there trying to communicate something that they were not able to communicate in life or something like that. So let's see if Clarice is able to speak with this ghost and figure out what it wants. Okay, I was rolling for a 5 or 6, by the way. I gotta remember to say that. But so Clarice is able to figure out what this ghost wants, and what it wants is to distract underling. To distract underling. I think we're gonna go just with distract, and let's say. So we are finding out now that this is sort of like a trickster ghost. Like we realize that its whole purpose was just to distract us from what's going on behind us, which is going to be, let's get a scale of difficulty here, 6, which is average, which is going to be that the sarcophagi, or the coffins, are opening up and the undead are approaching. So this spirit was just a distraction and wisps away into nothing as the undead approach. And so we're caught off guard. They get to come in and attack us. And so we'll have this undead try to bite Lauretta. We need a 5 or a 6, and we got a 5. And this undead is going to bite Lauretta. We need a 5 or a 6. We got a 6. Now this one is going to bite Clarice. And Clarice needs a 5 or a 6. And rolls a 4. We're going to use a karma to make that a success. And this decaying dead is going to try and chomp at Clarice with its bony teeth. For a 5 or a 6, we got a 5. Okay. So that's their round. We're going to have Lauretta now do some acrobatic martial arts on this guy. We need a 5 or a 6. And we got a 5, so she knocks this guy out. She's able to snap both his legs, and he falls to the ground and hits his head on this coffin here, and the top part of his skull snaps off. And then we're going to have Clarice attack the skeleton. She's going to use her cane that she's got to try and swipe the skeleton's spine and break him in half. We need a 5 or a 6. She swings at the skeleton and she knocks off like a couple of his ribs, but he doesn't care. Doesn't bother him one bit. Alright, so this flesh-eating undead is going to take a bite at Lauretta. We need a 5 or a 6 to avoid it. Alright, 2 6s. So not only does Lauretta avoid his bite, he comes reaching in to bite her, but as he goes down to bite her, she's able to bring her hand across the side of his head and snaps his head right off. So she actually is able to kill him in her defensive posture. Now we have Lauretta getting attacked by this zombie. She needs to roll a 5 or a 6 to avoid his bite. And she rolls a 4 and a 3. Clarice was the one being attacked. So Clarice is going to not spend a karma. Clarice is going to get bit. All right. And then this skeleton is going to take a bite out of her. I'm going to try and grab her and take a big bite out. She's going to roll 2 dice to get a 5 or a 6. And 2 4s. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use a karma this time and turn those into 2 successes. All right, which is a critical success, which means, let's see, the karma, her occult knowledge, she's able to whisper a sort of turn undead spell, which is going to cause this skeleton to start backing up and falls over between these 2 coffins, so he kind of loses a turn. And so we'll have Lauretta go around, and she's going to do some judo on this skeleton. So we'll go ahead and roll 3 dice. We need a 5 or a 6. She's going to use a karma to crush. She springs her elbow down right into the skeleton's skull and crushes it. And then we're going to have Clarice roll 2 dice to swing her cane at this undead here. She needs a 5 or a 6. So she misses. Swings and misses, or she hits it and his arm falls off, but he doesn't care. That arm was useless anyway. It was mostly falling off already. And so he's going to take a bite out of her. As she swings and misses, he is lunging in at her for a nice bite. And she needs a 5 or a 6 to avoid it. And he gets a nice bite on her. He takes a big chunk out of her arm. And she's screaming. And Lauretta comes up, running to do some awesome martial arts on this undead. She needs a 5 or a 6. And she gets a 6. She's able to do a big... She comes in and does a big drop kick. And it hits the zombie. And we'll say that this hole was here. This is the hole, like a well. The altar is like a well. And he goes tumbling down into the hole and dies. All right. So now all those guys are dead, and we are getting ready to move to the next room. But we need to do our next stroke of bad luck. So this time I'm going to roll on the twist chart. So since we need 2 bits of bad luck every round, or every scene, let's roll 2 dice on the twists chart here. We'll go to one of them is 1 and 1. 1 and 1. That is, it looks like a bridge. Looks like the London Bridge. London Bridge. So as the body of the undead flies down into this well, it's hitting the sides as it falls down, bouncing back and forth off of the sides, and it actually starts knocking stones loose, and the ground starts shaking. And they're like, oh my god, what's going on? And then it starts to crumble. So they both have to make, like it starts crumbling between them, and now they both have to run and make agility, make attempts to run out. So we're going to have Lauretta go first, needs a 5 or a 6 to be able to avoid the crumbling floor. Oh no! So Loretta's not able to avoid it. She starts falling down, and then Clarice is going to try and avoid it. And Clarice is able to avoid it and runs over this way, but she sees Lauretta falling down into this pit that's growing and growing. Is there an item in this room, are there ropes or some sort of equipment that can be used to save Lauretta? We'll say that there's a likelihood of, it's even likelihood. Is there a rope or some sort of equipment? Even is yes. Okay, so let's say that Clarice is going to use her craftiness to manufacture some sort of mechanism of rescuing Lauretta. We need a 5 or a 6. And we roll all 2s. Okay. Shoot. So that was a fail, and Lauretta goes falling down into the pit. And so we don't know. Clarice doesn't know, like, all the crumbling has finally stopped. And there's just silence. And she calls out to see if Lauretta responds. I'm going to say bad odds, but does Lauretta respond? No. Okay, so she calls down and there's just nothing. She can hear nothing down there. Is there a means of Clarice to climb down safely using those ropes? Let's see if she can make something to climb down. She wasn't able to make something fast enough to save Lauretta as she was falling, but maybe she can make something to climb down. She needs a 4, 5, or 6 for this one. We got a 4 and a 3. Okay, so we are able to make something that she can descend down into the dark. Are there torches available here? I see them on the representation here, but I don't know that there would be torches in here. So are there torches in here? We'll say even odds. No? Question mark? Okay. So can Clarice is going to try to make something that can be a light source to carry down into the dark with her. And so she needs to roll a 4 or a 5 or a 6. Shoot. She kind of needs light. Maybe she just goes down into the dark. All right, so she's got a way to descend down into the darkness, and so she descends down into the darkness. So this is our map. She goes down and she calls out, and is she able to hear Lauretta? We're going to say even odds now that she's down. No. All right. What does she hear? Let's see what she can hear. Heartfelt sobbing. Oh, okay. So she hears heartfelt sobbing, but it's not Lauretta's sobbing. So something is sobbing down here. But it's pitch black. I forgot about Lauretta's ability to teleport. How did I forget that? Loretta can literally teleport. All right, let's figure out what this sobbing is. Clarice is going to call out and try to get a response from whatever's sobbing. And she needs to roll a 5 or a 6 to make contact. All right. Whatever's crying is not responding to her. It's dark. She's going to try and move towards what she can hear. And we're going to roll a 5 or a 6. Okay, so she's able to move sort of in the direction of the crying. We'll put... This is like an indicator. So she moves towards the crying. And she's right where it's crying. And she's going to... Let's see if she can sense anything. A prayer cut short is what she hears. And she can feel an oily coating. Ew, an oily coating. What does she feel down here in this darkness? An oily coating. Does the entity react when it is touched? I'm going to say even odds. No? Question mark? Okay, so she touches it. She can't quite tell. It feels like it moves, but it doesn't seem as though it moved in response to her. Is this entity hostile? We're going to say even odds. Yes. Okay. So this is... She's getting really bad vibes from this oily thing that's sobbing that doesn't seem to react to her. And it hasn't gotten her any closer to uncovering where her friend Lauretta is. So let's go ahead and roll to see if Clarice can use all this information and her occult knowledge to discern what it is that she's interacting with. And let's go ahead and go for a 5 or a 6. All right, we got a 5 and a 6, so it's a critical. So Lauretta knows exactly what this is. And so we need to find out exactly what this is. I'm going to draw for a difficulty 3. Okay, so this is a fairly small game here. She knows exactly what this is. What has happened is we've fallen down into these sewers. And down in these sewers is a mourning spirit of a... what are they? Like a nymph. This used to be a river. A river used to come through here. And the river has been turned into a nasty sewer. And this... So now this spirit, this nymph, this river spirit, is doomed to be the spirit presiding over a nasty, dingy sewer underneath a Victorian city. And so, with that knowledge, Clarice has gotten some sense of where she is, and she also, her eyes have adjusted to the darkness, and we're not sure still where Lauretta is. And now she knows they're down in the sewers beneath the city. So I feel like now their mission is just to escape alive, right? Like the hospitals, that's all in the past. They've now fallen through 2 levels of hospital and found themselves in the underground. So now all they need to do is just get out. But now this is a semi-hostile but fairly manageable enemy. And I think that I'm going to have Clarice try to persuade this spirit, this nymph, to help her. And we'll have to roll a 6, we'll say. All right, we rolled a 6. Okay, so this nymph has just become an ally. Let's go ahead and give our nymph 2 resolve and 2 karma. And our nymph is just is going to be an agile archetype and can breathe underwater and is depressed. Like that's their quirk. And so Clarice is going to ask this nymph to help her find her friend who fell down into these sewers. And does the nymph know where Lauretta went? I'm going to say good odds, yes. Oh, no. The nymph has no idea. But does the nymph know her way around this sewer? I'm going to say good odds. And no, okay. So this nymph has not taken any time in all of these decades of being trapped in this sewer to figure out this place. She's literally just been sitting here mourning. So she's really not much help. So let's have Clarice try and use logic based on where they were in the hospital and where she ended up, and try and deduce some sort of topography for where she's at. She might have knowledge of, the city, the sewers. Let's first ask if she does. Does Clarice have knowledge of this city's layout? Is she very familiar with this city? We'll say good odds. Yes, okay. So she's going to try and remember and try and think really hard and get some sense of topography. And she needs a 5 or a 6. All right, we got a 6. Okay, so Clarice has a sense of where she is. So she's going to start moving around, and I guess we're just going to leave this nymph back here where she refuses to move from. So she was no help at all. And so Clarice is moving along through this sewer, and it's kind of dark, but her eyes have adjusted a little bit, and she is going to try and continue to find her way out of the sewer. Let's say she calls out, and does Lauretta respond? We'll say even odds. Yes, with an exclamation mark. Okay, so she calls out, and she hears Lauretta, and they're calling out towards each other. And are they able to get to each other? We'll see. Good odds, yes. Yes, okay, so they're able to find each other. So now they're back together. And they move on to the next section of sewer. We'll spin it like this. Say they come out this way. And they're trying to find their way out. But now we need... they still have this artifact. So we need bad luck stuff to start happening to them. So let's go ahead and draw. We have a crown, a shield, and a target. So a crown is a non-plot opposition. A shield is a delay, blocked, or detoured. And the target is character flaw triggered. Okay, so they've been moving around in these sewers to no avail, just like kind of wandering. And so Clarice's demonic spirit curse has been whispering into her ears that she's nothing, that she's going to die down here and rot. There's no use going on. You might as well just stop. You might as well just give up. And Clarice is going to have to roll to try and overcome that. And because it's a quirk, we're going to roll 1. And she needs a 5 or a 6. Okay, so she does not overcome that. So she's wandering around again. And Lauretta is unable to calm her down. And we'll go ahead and see what the other stroke of bad luck is. Crown again. A moon. And a sword. So the crown is non-plot opposition. The moon is misinformation or deception. And the sword is gear or supply trouble. So I'm going to say that their eyes are failing them now. Like it's dark, their eyes have adjusted, but now they're in an even like darker section of the sewer where they just literally can't see at all. So they're just like trying to feel their way around. Clarice is still going insane over here. And they start to hear something. What do they hear? A yell. But it's a yell only you can hear. So Lauretta starts to hear this yell, and she's going to move towards this yell. She's kind of just had to leave her friend, because her friend is like wandered off into the sewers deeper. And Loretta's just going to try and find her way out so she can come back with a search party to try and get back to Clarice. And so I'm going to draw to see if the yell that only she can hear is from something hostile. I'm going to say good odds. Yes? Question mark? All right, so let's get the difficulty for this hostile thing. 5, so it's right down the middle. And let's say that we have bumped into... The reason that Clarice couldn't hear it is because she's just gone mad, but the yell is some highwaymen, and we're not sure if they're hostile, but the reason that they're yelling is because another river nymph is attacking them. And so we come into this situation where they're getting attacked by this river nymph. This is not the same one as before. This is a different one that's, instead of becoming melancholy and depressed by their situation, has turned mad and evil and is just trying to, will just kill anything that comes down into these pipes. And is attacking them. So let's see, how do we want to handle this? Lauretta could attack them, or maybe Lauretta is going to try and... let's say that the highwaymen do have some form of light. These bandits, not highwaymen, they're just like Isurians. They're just vagrants that live down in the sewer, homeless people. And they just wandered into the wrong section that was under the dominion of this evil nymph. And they have torches, and so I think Lauretta is going to try and help them, because she can help. They could help her go back with torches and find, maybe she can get their help to go back and find. So she's gonna try and help these guys out. And first, she can't reach. First, the Naga, the spirit nymph, is going to attack the highwaymen with her evil magics. And let's say she gets to roll 3 dice, and a 5 or a 6 will have her successfully hit one of these highwaymen, and they only have 1 resolve. So you need a 5 or a 6. Okay, so she's able to destroy both of them with 1 fell swoop, and that leaves her here to contest with Lauretta. And we'll say that, do their torches fall in the water? Say even odds. Yes, okay, so their torches fall into the water, casting us into darkness again. But let's say, is Lauretta able to grab one of those torches before it falls into the water? We need a 6. We got a 5. We're going to use a karma to make that a success, because she's going to use her teleportation skill to get that little extra bit of distance and grab the torch. And so now she's got a torch, but she's got to try and preserve this torch while fighting this evil nymph. So that's going to give her 1 less dice when she's in conflict with this nymph, which comes and tries to attack her now. So she needs a 5 or a 6 to dodge the nymph. Okay, so she takes a hit, and now she is going to attack the nymph. And we'll see if she can do this. She needs a 5 or a 6. I've got a 6. All right, so she's able to attack the nymph. Oh, I forgot to put out resolve. We rated this as a fairly easy challenge, so we'll say that the nymph just had 1, and so we just defeated the nymph. We'll say we bashed her head with a torch, and it sears and bubbles and pops in the side of her scaly skin before she falls into the river. And we're not sure if she died or if she just fled, but she's not bothering us anymore. And so now we have a torch. So we're going to go back and we're going to call out for our friend. And is Clarice close enough to hear? We'll say even odds. Yes. Okay. So they call each other, and they're able to find each other, and they're able to make their way out to the final section, we'll say, of the sewers. We'll use this one. So they're coming out of the sewers, trying to make their way up here, and we're going to have one more set of 2 bad luck obstacles that they'll encounter here. So let's go ahead and do one of them by rolling on this chart. We got a 1 and a 2, which is a fire. Okay, so maybe the gases. So when one of the torches from the homeless dudes that was wandering down in the sewers, when it fell into the sewer sludge, the layer of methane that's on top of the sewer sludge caught fire, and the flame, we couldn't see it as we were fighting with this nymph, but the flame started trickling up towards the exit. And so they come into this room, and I guess there was probably a bunch of like piles of trash and refuse in here that are all now on fire. So they come into this room, and all of this stuff is on fire. There's no way to get through. How do they overcome this? I think that we'll see if Lauretta can teleport past it. We'll roll 2 dice. We need a 5 or a 6. We got a 6. Okay, so Loretta's able to teleport past it and see if there's anything useful, or potentially go out and get help. And let's see if she goes out. We're going to have Clarice just kind of wait here and still see. Let's see if we can roll a 6. Then I think Clarice can come up with a solution. We'll use our final karma to turn that into a victory. And so Clarice has come up with a solution, and she calls out to her friend Lauretta and explains what Lauretta needs to do. And Lauretta goes and gets the things she needs and comes down with a bunch of help. And they use the shovels that Clarice recommended they go get, or something like that, to break away and break a hole just enough so that Clarice can come out. Right? That's the plan anyway. So let's see if they're able to do it. We're going to roll. We need 6s. We need a 6. This is Loretta's roll. All right, we got 2 6s. And so that is a critical success. They're able to make the debris split somehow and get Clarice, and they all go to safety, and they say, man, I guess maybe we should go back to that hospital and figure out what's going on there. Maybe they'll revisit that in a separate adventure. So that brings this to a conclusion. What did you guys think? This one was a little bit more wacky. I really feel like it was still a lot of fun, had a good time. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.